What did the Dilophosaurus really sound like? For years, many of you residents may have assumed the animal sounded something like this. Chittering like a rattlesnake and spitting venom like a cobra, this animal has left a lasting impression on dinosaur fans across the world as one of the most unforgettable scenes ever put to film. Despite its small size, this iconic dinosaur has terrified cinemagoers for decades, and fan outcry was so strong that they even brought Dilophosaurus back in the most recent Jurassic World film, and they deal the finishing blow to the main villain of the film. The way Universal made this sound might shock you, because it's not what you'd expect. You hear their cute chirps? This was actually made from swans that produce the hoot sound, also combined with the sounds of small dogs, ostriches, and even insects. And for their attack sound, they use a combination of a rattlesnake and a howler monkey call, giving us that iconic screech. But whilst these sounds are immediately recognizable and serve the purpose of the story, is it really what they sounded like? Thanks to modern advances in science, we know a lot more about these creatures than we did 30 years ago, and we know that in reality, these things are very different to how they appeared in Jurassic Park. The human brains are hardwired through millions of years of survival, hunting and gathering to understand the ways animals communicate. The roars of tigers, the hiss of a cobra, the screech of an elephant. We recognize these creatures as threats to our lives. But dinosaurs? These creatures are from over 65 million years before the ascension of Homo sapiens. But with the help from new research, we're getting closer than ever to understanding these real-life monsters. But our first step involves going back to the discovery of this terrifying carnivore to understand exactly how this thing lived. Discovered in 1940 by Jesse Williams on Navajo Nation land near Tuba City, Arizona, Dilophosaurus REALLY is a genus of theropod that lived in the early Jurassic period around 186 million years ago. Standing 10 feet tall, with a length of 20 feet, weighing over 400 kilograms, it was one of the largest carnivores of its time. Certainly bigger than the dog-sized dinosaurs we see in Jurassic Park. It stands out thanks to its iconic crests that will become important later. But as I'm sure all of you know, the frill from the Jurassic films that was used to intimidate its prey is a complete fabrication. There is zero evidence that anything like this ever existed, but it doesn't mean there weren't other means of communication. So, in what ways would it need to communicate, and why? One reason they'd need to vocalize is if they were in a group. There's currently no evidence of pack hunting behavior for Dilophosaurus. Social animals that hunt in packs use real strategy and coordination that these creatures simply didn't have the brain capacity for. However, like Komodo dragons, they may have grouped together to take down large prey. But due to not being social animals, it's unlikely that they had extensive communicative capabilities. But for mating and intimidation, vocalizations would have been very much necessary. If you've watched our other episodes on what it would have sounded like, you'll know that scientists reported on the syrinx, the organ responsible for producing sound, was an evolutionary trait, meaning these dinosaurs couldn't make sounds at all, and had to use their esophagus to push out air in order to utilize infrasound, a low-frequency hum which we can hear on many modern birds that, whilst not a roar, is infinitely more haunting. Well, new discoveries have completely changed the game, because in 2023, an actual fossilized larynx was discovered in the Gobi Desert in Mongolia, belonging to a Pinecosaurus, a genus of ankylosaurid that lived in Asia during the late Cretaceous. And whilst it's not the same species as Dilophosaurus, it tells us that these creatures may have indeed been able to vocalize outside of infrasound, meaning that this creature could have made more complex sounds than the monotone noises of reptiles like crocodilians, and instead likely had a closer vocal range to the birds that surround us every day. Although the bird-unique vocal source, the syrinx, has never been reported in non-avian dinosaurs, Pinacosaurus could have employed bird-like vocalizations with the bird-like large kinetic larynx. So, this animal may not have only made the infrasound and reptilian hisses we've come to expect, but chirps and squawks like other large birds. But of course, vocalizations aren't the only way these creatures can communicate, but visual cues help exponentially. Remember that crest we mentioned earlier? Scientists believe that its crest was used in courtship and could have been used to attract mates, with the larger and more colorful being a sign of maturity, similar to what we see in nature's own death bird, the cassowary. So whilst it's not the frill from Jurassic Park, it's arguably even more interesting. So, using audio editing software, we're going to take what we know about the dinosaur vocalizations based on scientific descriptions and deliver what the Dilophosaurus really sounded like. These dinosaurs only get more interesting with each new discovery. Every day we step closer to being able to see and hear what these beautiful animals were really like. And whilst the previous information of infrasound being used isn't invalidated, this new study has changed the paleo world and opened up a ton of new possibilities for what these creatures really sounded like. Nature is often more interesting than fiction, and no matter what monstrous traits they add to these animals, fact is usually stranger than fiction. Just imagine how terrifying it would have been hearing calls similar to that of modern birds, except these aren't your common pigeon. These are giant reptiles, efficient hunters that want nothing more than to fill their bellies with your meat. And if you can hear it, it means it's been watching you and stalking you for a long time. The chances are these sounds aren't 100% accurate, but based on what we know so far, it's about as close as we're going to get. But how does it compare to the Jurassic Park interpretation? Does the real thing strike a more primal fear into your soul, as it's something we can imagine in real life? Or do you prefer the more monstrous sound design from the film? Regardless of your answer, I think we can all agree that we're happy we don't have to worry about this thing wandering into our gardens. What dinosaur would you like to see explored next? Let us know in the comment section down below. We just passed 1,000 videos, so this video serves as a nice homage to the viral video that helped make Dangerville into the empire it is today. So thanks residents for watching. I've been your Mayor Alistair, and we'll see you residents in the next one.